for joining me for another Infinite Woman interview. I'm your host, tannamarshall, and today we're talking to Stephanie O'Brien, Coaching Program Design Specialist. Let me tell you about Stephanie. Stephanie O'Brien is an author and coach who helps people create lucrative and life-changing group coaching programs in as little as 1 month, so they can make more sales and help more people while working fewer hours and having more time for themselves and their loved ones. That sounds awesome. Welcome, Stephanie.
Well, thank you so much, Tan. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm hoping that your audience will get great value out of this.
Well, I'm happy to have you, and I know everybody is going to be really interested to hear what you do and what you have to offer. So I'm really interested to hear about all that you do. So tell me, how did you get started working with coaches?
It actually started with me being a writer. I actually finished my first full-length novel when I was 12 years old. It was an absolutely terrible novel. But it told me that I could do it. So I went on to write 14 novels, 4 of which I've been good enough to self-publish. In the process of doing all that writing, I got a lot of experience in the area of taking a huge amount of information and breaking it down into a step-by-step flow that people could easily follow. And then when Mom got into coaching, she actually did before I did. I kind of followed her into it. I went with her to seminars as her writer. And in the process of meeting all these coaches, I was just blown away by the people I was meeting. These were incredible people who are working to be their best selves, to make a positive difference in the world, to leave the world a better place than they found it, to live their best lives and help others do the same. So, since then, I worked with coaches both as a coach for them, as a writer for them, as a client for them. And in the process, it kind of gave me a view of both sides of the coaching equation. I saw what people were doing right, what people were doing wrong. And I also just experienced so many life-changing differences in my life. I wanted to help more people to be able to access that. So those are the two kind of main reasons why I started working with coaches to help them make group coaching programs. My experience as a my experience as a client of coaches, wanting to help more clients have that benefit, and my experience with coaches wanting to help coaches to make more impact and income, while not burning themselves out with too many appointments.
That is such a well-rounded and extensive background. 12 years old. Oh my God. And you've written 14. I've written 2, and I'm like, I've written 2 books, and you've written 14. That's awesome.
Yeah, 14 novels and 2 nonfiction, actually.
That's amazing. Wow. That's such an accomplishment. Well, and that also speaks to the fact that you are really great at helping people with their copy and writing, and whether it's for their business or creating a program. So tell me, when coaches are creating a group coaching program, what are some of the challenges that they run into usually?
One is wanting to have the program a certain length or have a lot of content in it and feeling like they haven't got enough content in there to fill in all the gaps. Maybe they want it to be 3 months, but they're not sure what they're going to put in lessons 6, 7, and 8. Or maybe they're kind of running into some imposter syndrome, like, oh, do I really have enough content? Am I really good enough to teach this? Do I really have enough to create a full course? Am I able to do this without all the back and forth one-on-one feedback that I'm constantly getting from my one-on-one clients? So that's something that can creep in. And of course, just how it is when you're staring at the screen and you've got a mountain of knowledge in your head, but what do you write first? What do you write second? Why is all that knowledge suddenly gone? Whether you're doing fiction writing or nonfiction, you could just end up staring at the screen like, I know a lot of things, but where are they? But I need to put them on the screen.
I love that. I know a lot of things. Well, I love this because I get a lot of downloads when I'm meditating or just when I'm not really too focused and thinking. And then I'm like, oh, that's really good. But then when I go to write it down, sometimes like, oh, it's so difficult to write it down. So it sounds like you help pull it out of people's heads and put it down on the paper. So what are a few tips that you can give to coaches who are struggling with these problems?
Well, the first thing I recommend doing is walk yourself through the whole process that your client would have to go through if they were starting out, where your clients usually are when they're starting out, and just from there to where you want them to be. So let's say you're a relationship coach. What are the steps your clients would have to take? If let's say you're helping men meet women, you have to know what kind of woman you want to meet, get an idea of where this kind of woman hangs out, be the kind of man who's actually attractive to her. And that doesn't mean changing your personality. It means being the best version of who you are and you're having the social skills. And once you've gotten some ideas of where to meet her, how to approach her without making her nervous, because women get approached by so many guys with bad intentions. You got to set yourself apart from those guys. How to strike up a conversation, how to determine whether she's someone you want to keep talking with and date, how to get that first date, and so forth. So just walk yourself through the whole process your client would go through in the order in which they'd do it, and write all those steps down. So from there, you got your lesson plan. Step one, do this. Step two, do that. And then the second thing you do is break each of those things down. Okay, so for step one, figuring out what kind of woman you want to date. What are the steps they take to do that? And if each of those steps isn't self-explanatory in and of itself, break those sub-steps down even further. If one of the steps is, notice what kind of woman makes you happy, then what are the steps to really become aware of that if you've just been, going with what society told you was the right thing to look for in a woman? So just take each of those steps, list them in order, and then break them down into sub-steps as far as you have to make them really actionable. You have to make sure that everybody who's reading this knows how to do every single thing, and that they're not saying, "Okay, you told me what to do, but not how to do it."
Yeah, that sounds very simple and very practical.
Yeah.
And I have a question. What if, well, I'm thinking of coaches, but what if there's somebody who just has a lot of knowledge about something? Maybe they're not even a coach and they want to share that knowledge and they think, oh, they're presented with that idea like, oh, maybe I could do a program. Have you ever worked with anybody who's not a coach and doesn't even have a business, but they have something they feel is valuable and they want to put it out there to help people?
Oh yeah, I've worked with a couple people who didn't want to do coaching courses, but they wanted to do books. And it's actually a very similar process. With the book, it's all written. With the coaching, it's more, delivered via live calls, but it's kind of roughly the same content. I've helped people. I've partly or fully ghostwritten books. I've done developmental edits. I've done copy edits. So yeah, it's, if you want to make this into a book, if you want to make it into a totally pre-recorded training program, the process of outlining the content is much the same.
It's so simple. So I'm really glad that we're highlighting you what you do. So I take it that you've used a lot of these tips in your own business.
Oh yeah, you can use them to write books. Like I said, I've written 2 nonfiction books. I use them to write my own the outline for my own coaching program. You can also use it to create content marketing, like your social media posts. If you're trying to figure out what are some good tips I can share, well, take one of the steps that your clients need to go through and then break that down into all the sub steps. What are the specific actions that they need to do in order to get this result? And there you go. You just pulled a bunch of content out for your social media marketing.
What that brings up an interesting point. So would you ever work? I mean, this sounds like it's not part of what you do at all, but have you helped people with their social media content just for their businesses in general if they're not creating a program? Or you do just pull information out of programs with the clients that you're working with to promote it on social media?
I've worked more with people. I've done some social media. I've worked more with people who wanted to do newsletters, but you can use the same content for both, really. So I have helped people to, create newsletters and social media content, and also, just ghostwritten some of it for them. I've also gone through some of their existing materials and kind of broken that down into, this snippet is good. This could be a social media post. This snippet is good. This could be a newsletter.
You know what? That's another good point. So if somebody has a business, or again, if maybe they just have an idea of something that they want to share on a regular basis, you help people create newsletters as well?
Yeah, I can ghostwrite newsletters for them or edit their existing newsletters.
Okay, that's good. God, I'm sure there are a lot of people that could use that because, I do everything myself, but I've had to stumble through it over the years. So I wish I had found you many years ago. It would have helped me so much. So if a coach is creating a group coaching program and they need help getting that done, what's the best way to get in touch with you and have you help them with that?
Well, my email is stephanie@coachclientconnection.com. And I also periodically host masterclasses that give kind of the first few basic steps that help them to, help them to do the first few steps of creating their group program. And then, of course, it has that option to work with me in more depth to get all the rest of the steps taken care of. Best way to contact me is the email, and then we can set up a call from there if they want to.
Awesome. And we'll share your website in a minute too. Stephanie, do you ever have any live events that you offer to people?
Absolutely. I actually just recently did a masterclass in which I walked people through my whole formula for creating the lessons in their group program, for giving their clients mind-blowing aha moments, for motivating them to actually implement the lessons, for making sure they had all the information they needed to successfully implement and get results they'd rave to their friends about. So yeah, the live replay was pretty recent, but the replay is still available. So if anybody wants to catch the replay, I'd be happy to send them a link.
And will that be on your website?
Yeah, I can get the replay available on my website pretty soon.
Or should they sign up for your mailing list and then they will be notified about the replay and then upcoming events?
Yeah, why not both?
Okay, excellent. So do you find that coaches in a specific niche are coming to you more than other coaches, or is it kind of across the board in all different industries, all different niches?
I'd say I've had more business coaches come to me, but I've also worked with people in who are in the health and fitness space, who are in the love and relationships space, and some people who are even just writing books about their own lives or a loved one's life. I've helped them to figure out the content for that too, and how to
Well,
bring it
that's a really
across.
good thing. Like if somebody has a relative that maybe that's passed on, or maybe they're still here and they want to document that and put it out, that's a really valuable service. So is there a specific kind of business, or is it just all kinds of businesses? I mean, you mentioned some of the specifics, but like are corporations ever coming to you, or is it just mostly individuals and entrepreneurs?
I mostly work with individual coaches. They're usually either one-person teams or relatively small teams, and they want to free up their time and get more income so they can build further from that. But each person only has so many hours in a day. So if you're working one-on-one, that's a great thing. And there are some instances where one-on-one is more appropriate than group coaching. But if you have information that you're kind of sharing with over and over with one person at a time, and you realize you could share the same information with more people at a time, grouping coaching lets you serve more people with the same information in the same amount of time. So yeah, sometimes a lot of my work is with coaches who are kind of a one-person team and they're ready to scale up. They want to serve more people, they want to make more money, but they won't want to absolutely overstuff their calendars doing it.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense, because I'm sure there are a lot of burnt out people that either haven't thought of this or didn't think they could do it, or they thought it was too much work. And you're providing a service that makes it much more doable
Mhm.
and available to them on a scale that they can manage. So with all the coaches that you've worked with, do you ever run into imposter syndrome where people want to put something out, but they feel like, oh, I don't know, do I really know this? Am I good enough? Do you ever come across that?
Yeah, I think that's something probably most of us struggle with, especially when we're starting out, where we're still in that one person or small team state. We're looking at all these coaches who are on international stages and they're speaking to thousands of people and they're making millions of dollars. And it's so easy to compare ourselves to that and think, wow, why am I even bothering? Am I anywhere near as good? Why aren't people just working with them instead? So this exercise I walked people through earlier, where you write out all the steps and then you break down each step into sub-steps, and then you break down each sub-step further into all the little details and action steps that go into it. It can really help you to realize, holy crap, I actually know a lot. I actually have a really in-depth, comprehensive system here, and I have so much information that the average person doesn't have. And it can also help you to, just by putting it out there in black and white, to realize, there's actually a lot of stuff in here that people need explained to them. All this stuff that's so familiar to me that it feels like common knowledge actually is stuff that people need explained to them. It isn't such common knowledge, it's special knowledge that I have.
Yeah. And it reminds me of a suggestion in business, that you hire people to do the things for you that you either don't want to do or you're not good at.
Yeah, done for you is certainly an upsell that people can add to their coaching program. In this program, I teach you how to do it, but for this additional price, I can do it for you. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, there are some things each business owner kind of has to do for themselves, especially when it comes to stuff like stuff that requires their personal interaction and their personality to be involved. But a lot of the background stuff, as long as a person knows enough about the coach and their teaching points and their style, they can do a lot of it for them.
I love what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
So you provide a lot of support to coaches and businesses. And so we talked about where people can contact you. So where can people learn more about all of the services you provide?
Well, there's my website, coachclientconnection.com. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. I believe I gave you my links and they should be included in this interview, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. So yeah, I share a lot of tips on my Facebook and my LinkedIn, and also on my blog on my website. I've got a lot of my longer form tips are on there. And of course, I've got a free newsletter if anybody wants weekly tips and to be notified of any masterclasses that are coming up. That's a great way to stay in touch and to get regular tips right in your inbox.
Excellent. And we're going to put your website right here, and all the other links to contact you and connect with you will be in the description below. And you also have a free gift for our viewers, right?
That's right. It walks people through the process of outlining the lessons in their group coaching program. So a lot of the exercise that I just walked you through here, I'm going to have written down there so you don't have to memorize it just from this interview. You'll have it right there in black and white. And they also go into more detail about how to make sure that people are motivated to actually implement the lesson, how to make sure that they have all the information they need to implement the lesson, even if they're unfamiliar with it. It's so easy for us to think we're explaining things clearly because we know our process so well, only for a person who's new to it to be going, okay, I know what to do, but not how to do it. So I walk people, in this gift, I walk people through, here's how to make sure they have all the information they need to be motivated to implement it and to actually complete the implementation so they can actually get results that that'll blow their minds and motivate them to work with you.
Awesome. So go get that free gift on Stephanie's website. I love all the information that you've been sharing here today. And there are so many coaches out there that could definitely use what you have to offer and maybe put out a program that they've never thought of or they didn't think they could do. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today and telling us all about what you're doing and the support you provide to coaches. I'm sure there's so many people, hopefully a lot of people will be reaching out to you and getting your help, getting their programs out there and helping more people.
I certainly hope so. And thank you so much for featuring me here. I hope everybody watching got some great value from this.
I'm sure they did. How could they not? Thank you for being here. And thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back with more inspiring interviews with amazing women. So remember to subscribe here on YouTube. And if you'd like to join the community and get free resources to support your self-care, jump over to my website, Tanna Marshall, and take the self-care boundary quiz to find out how well you prioritize your self-care and sign up to be notified about upcoming events and programs. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.